Good afternoon, everyone. Senator Honorable Franklin Khan, Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, Mrs. Penelope Bradshaw-Niles, Permanent Secretary Acting, Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries, Mrs. Sandra Fraser, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries, staff, stakeholders, members of the media, and the viewing public. Welcome to a press conference hosted by the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries to give an update on the sale of the Petrogen refinery. My name is Choi Felix, Head of Communications. I now hand you over to Senator the Honorable Franklin Khan, Minister of Energy and Energy Industries.
Okay, thank you very much. And I want to welcome all members of the media and to the general listening public. We are being broadcast live on TTT. This press conference is called to give an update on the status of the negotiations with Patriotic Energies and Technologies Limited, re the sale of the Petrogen refinery, more accurately, the sale of the assets of Garakara Refining Limited and Paria Trading Company. With me today, on my immediate right, is Mr. Vishnu Danpal, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, and he also headed the evaluation committee on this matter. To his right is Mr. Andre Jeffers, the Trinidad Petroleum Holding Company lead, finance lead. And to my left is Mr. Mustaq Mohammed, the CEO of Paria Trading. To contextualize this press conference, let me give some background. In October of 2018, the government took a very fundamental decision in the energy sector to restructure Petrotrin. Trinidad Petroleum Holding Limited was formed as a holding company, and the former Petrotrin was broken up into a series of subsidiary companies by function. It included Heritage Petroleum, which is the E&P arm and exploration and production, Paria Trading, the trading and marketing company, Garakara Refining, in which the refinery asset was vested, and then Petrotrin, which remained as an operating company to deal with legacy issues. What has happened with Heritage and Paria is well known to the public. They have both been success stories. However, on May 21st, 2019, the Garakara and Paria assets went out for public bid to 5 shortlisted bidders. In mid-June 2019, Cabinet appointed an evaluation team to evaluate the bids. This team was headed, to my immediate right, by Permanent Secretary Danpal of the Ministry of Finance. After that process, on September 20th, 2019, the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Colman Booth, announced in the Parliament that Patriotic Energies and Technologies Limited was the preferred bidder. Since then, ladies and gentlemen, negotiations have been conducted by a team on the government side involving senior personnel from Garakara Refining, Paria Trading, with expert legal counsel, both local and international. The team was reporting to a ministerial committee comprising myself as the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, Minister Stuart Young, Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, and P.S. Danpal, Vishnu Danpal. Let me say from the onset, ladies and gentlemen, that this was and has been a very complex negotiation because we were attempting to sell a complex asset involving the sale of a multi-billion-dollar state asset. And as such, due diligence by the state was paramount in this exercise. These discussions are subject to something called NDAs, which are non-disclosure agreements. So both parties are bound in keeping those agreements. However, I will just briefly outline the key issues in the negotiation
I
process.
join on a Zoom thing.
They include,
Hey, what does
inter alia,
e-lunch mean?
a detailed
What does e-lunch
inspection of the
mean?
A
refinery.
punch.
You
2,
said
the
lunch.
refinery
It's a
restart
punch.
criteria. 3, environmental matters.
That emoji that
4,
you look
statutory approvals, etc. 5, taxation issues. However, after prolonged negotiation, the key issues at the end turned out to be the following. 1, and these are the 3 key issues: the purchase price financing, 2, the restart financing, and 3, the issue of first priority lien on the asset. After much toing and froing, exchange of letters, and a series of meetings involved with the negotiating team, the Honorable Prime Minister and the Honorable Minister of Finance gave the parties an October 31st deadline to reach an agreement on the sale of the captioned asset. Patriotic, cognizant of what the key outstanding issues are, made a final proposal ahead of the deadline on the 29th of October. Today, I regret to say that this final proposal does not address the outstanding issues that could lead to a signed contractual agreement. And that is the state of play as we speak. I want to conclude by saying the government is committed to restarting the refinery with private capital injection, mindful that its restart will have significant positive impact on the economy, on GDP, on employment, etc., and will move expeditiously to do so. That brings an end to what I have to say, but I am open to questions.
We now open the floor to questions from the media. Persons are asked via Zoom to ask their questions, unmute their mics. Unmute their mics, ask their questions. Okay, please raise your hands via Zoom and you will be unmuted and you could ask your questions. Again, questions from the media. You all could unmute your mics and ask your questions.
Hi, good afternoon. Alicia Boucher from TV6 here. I just want to find out, now that, the proposal has been rejected, what is the process? Do you have to go back and tender? You mentioned, private capital being injected into the refinery. Where is this private capital coming from? What is going to be the procedure to get private capital into the refinery to restart it?
Well, I would say at this point in time that the government will now be in a position to consider its options. And we'll have some discussions among the government and the cabinet as to what these options are. And the population will be informed as soon as it's possible when we have greater clarity on this matter.
Again, questions from the media. You could unmute your mics.
Minister, if I can ask, I know that some of these arrangements are confidential, but if I can ask, what are the things in the proposal put forward by Patriotic Energies that you can tell us that did not meet the requirements needed to address the problems of sale of the refinery and restarting the refinery?
Well, obviously, I can't tell you that because we are subject to non-disclosure agreements and we're delving in the realm of sensitive financial matters. But I did indicate in my discourse previously that the three key outstanding issues that were needed to be addressed was the purchase price financing, the restart financing, and the issue of who would have first lien on the asset. That's as far as I can possibly go and as far as I'm prepared to go.
Questions from the media. The floor is open.
Good evening, Sasha Wilson from Guardian Media. You all hearing me because I'm not hearing so well. Minister, hello?
I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Okay, you spoke about going back to the cabinet to discuss the way forward. What I want to know is whether you can say when you could come to the public and let us know exactly what's happening with the refinery, because since 2018, and yes, there were a lot of negotiations going on, but could you say how long it will take before we could get a clear idea as to what's the next step forward?
I can guarantee you in the shortest possible time, because this is a critical part item for the economy, and we will put our best effort to come back to the population with what the options are in the shortest possible time.
Again, the floor is open. The media could ask questions. Questions from the media.
Sasha Wilson from The Guardian again. Can I ask you a question relating to something else?
It depends on how far of the scope something else is involved. But
all right, it's two items. The first item is what effect will the failure of the broadside have on the upcoming deepwater bid round? And what's the government hopes for the deepwater?
Well, let me make one thing clear. And I'm glad you asked that question because it gives me an opportunity, even though I'm here to speak on Patriotic, to clarify an issue. In exploration circles, it's a common protocol internationally that when companies drill highly sensitive exploration well, it is classified as a tight hole. A tight hole means that it is only the operator is entitled to release information on the well. Not even statutory agencies like the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries. Because the success or failure of these wells have a lot of far-reaching consequences, especially as it relates to company stock price. So we are not authorized to release any information on the well. That call is from the operator. BHP has said nothing. They have made no comment. So I consider it very inappropriate to have a media releasing information on a well like that, for the time being, not sanctioned by any authorized people to the public. That is a breach of international protocol, and it doesn't spell good for Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you very much. Again, persons from the media are asked to give their names as well as media house, and you could go ahead and ask your questions.
I just wanted to ask, what would happen or what happened with the second bidder? Does it naturally go there in terms of
it doesn't naturally go there, but as I said, we will be exploring all our options.
Okay, on the other unrelated matter, for the past 2 or 3 days, we have been seeing the police going down to the bungalows in Clifton Hill and evicting, well, I don't know if they're legally there or not, persons. So could you please clarify what's happening down there?
Those bungalows are Petrotrin bungalows. The occupants were illegal occupants, and the police acted, and the police, all they were doing their job. And the people who occupying those bungalows had no authorization to so do.
Minister, just one other thing. There's a company, they are claiming that they own the land, and they are the ones who gave the people permission to go there, and it arose out of some court matter. Could you shed some light on that?
The company purporting to own the land. That's the key word there. The lands are owned by Petrotrin. Legally, it has been owned by Petrotrin for decades. These bungalows are Petrotrin bungalows. They were Trintop bungalows. They were Shell bungalows. The transfer of those assets occurred over the decades. So there's absolutely no legal issue there. And the persons who were occupying those bungalows were illegal occupants, and they were evicted.
Any other questions from the media?
Yes, Minister, I just have one last question. Can you tell us who was the second, and if there were any, who was the third bidder?
The other two bidders, there were 5 people who were invited to bid in the final round. 3 submitted bid: Patriotic, a company called Clash, and a company called Beowulf. And those are the other 2 options that are possibly, I'm not sure if they are still on the table, but those are the 2 other bidders in the bid round.
Question from the media. Will the ministry reconsider the other offers previously made by international bidders?
As I said, we will be exploring our options.
Question from Gabriel Neptune. Is government willing to revisit a proposal should there be an offer to address the shortcomings of OWTU proposal?
As I said, all options, and if that's an option, it's an option.
Again, the floor is open to the media.
Mr. Minister, Nigel Jawahir, TTT. Just changing the topic a bit. There's an article with in terms of the oil tanker off the Gulf. America has given permission for an Italian company to start, I would say, transferring the oil to another tanker. Are you aware of this, and what is the government role will be playing in this?
I am aware of the media report. If it is accurate, that is a very good sign, because the oil is produced from a field called Corocoro, which is a joint venture between PDVSA and ENI, which is an Italian multinational. So the Italian multinational ENI has an equity interest in the oil. And if they have applied to the United States government for permission to offload the tanker and to take the crude into some international destination, if that permission has been granted and will not be subject to sanction, that's a very, very good sign for what was happening out in the Gulf of Paria. So we welcome that news.
Question from Sunil Lala, TTT News. Mr. Ozzy Warwick would have stated that on October 21st, Patriotic finally met with the Ministerial Committee in an attempt to resolve the unique challenges associated with the offer. Do you believe this meeting was too late to resolve any such issues?
Meetings have been going on for over a year. And we had back and forth. We had come down to the wire. The Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance had set a deadline, and all parties were working diligently to meet that deadline. Unfortunately, it has not been met.
Okay, again, any other questions from the media? One more time, any other questions from the media? Okay, we'd like to thank you all for joining the press conference. Do have a good evening.